Hello viewers, and welcome to the program known as Know Your MCA. This program is from the County Assembly of Kericho, and it helps you to know about your MCA in the second assembly. In our assembly we have 47 MCAs, and today we have our second MCA on the program, who is Honorable Alex Bett. Welcome, Mheshimiwa, to the program.
Thank you so much, Madam Priska.
You're much welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah, kindly tell us about yourself. Who is Honorable Alex Bett? Where were you born?
Okay, thank you, Madam Priska. My names are Alex Bett, and I am also the MCA Litein Ward, which is in Bureti Sub-County. That's where I was also born, some very few or many years back. I was born in a village called Chebwagan, which actually it's also in Bureti Sub-County. That's where I did most of my basic education and also my ordinary level education. And later on, I also went to join my advanced level education, where I studied my A-levels in Litein High School. I later also proceeded for my university studies, which I did outside the country. That's in India, where I did my bachelor's and also my master's degree, after which I came back to Kenya to continue now hustling for the better part of my life. Thank you. Okay,
Mheshimiwa, maybe you can tell us more about your profession. What did you study and what field?
Interestingly, Madam Priska, when I started my career, I used to think that one of those days I'll become a doctor. But you see, our plans and God's plans are very different. When I was also doing my A-levels, I had done maths, physics and chemistry, which if it had gone well, I would have become maybe a doctor. But unfortunately, by that time when I was doing also my A-levels, the systems in Kenya was still very strict. That's to say that if you missed 1 point to join the university, your career ends there. So after I did my A-levels, I could not qualify to join the university to pursue my dreams. That's to become a doctor. So when I saw that that dream was fading away, I didn't lose hope. So I changed my profession dramatically. I switched from being pursuing to become a doctor to also become an accountant. So first of all, I went to join the Rift Valley Institute of Science and Technology, where I pursued my CPA, or Certified Public Accountants of Kenya. I did that for 1 year. Later on, I went outside the country, where I pursued the same profession as an accountant. I did my bachelor's in commerce. Later on in my master's, I also pursued the same field, where I did master's in commerce, advanced accounting and audit option. Thank you. Okay,
Mheshimiwa. I see you are doing very well in the field of accounting. What motivated you to join politics?
Yeah, in fact, that's a question that many people would ask, that I would have maybe become an accountant. And of course, I'm an accountant by profession. I have practiced in that field for over 10 years, where I've worked in various fields, mostly in private. And but you see, as fate would have it, this thing of politics came later on in life. Maybe to take you back, is that after I completed my studies, I joined a firm, a private firm, where I worked as an accountant for 9 years. And I joined a Christian religious organization, where I also worked as their accountant for another 7 years. After that, I thought of now changing my field, and I resigned from where I was working as an accountant for 7 years. And then I came now to serve my people. That's in Kericho. To also maybe put some clarity, where I was working for the 16 years that I had mentioned early, it was in Nairobi.
Okay.
But now, after that, I came back to Kericho and now pursued also a different profession. My first appointment was as a lecturer, and also a lecturer in the same field. I was teaching cost accounting, part of accounting, management accounting, and also other related field. And that's to say I was teaching university students under Kenya Methodist University. Later on in the same university, I was also promoted. I became a principal in a Kenya Methodist University satellite campus that was stationed in Bureti, where I was promoted to head the same satellite campus up to 2016, where now I joined this aspiration of being a politician. But even before then, between 2013 and 2016, because of my experience in finance and accounting, I was chosen to become Bureti Sub-County Chairman, National Government Constituency Development Fund, that's to say CDF. So for 5 years I was the chairman, Bureti Sub-County Chairman as a CDF, in CDF. Thank you.
Okay, Mheshimiwa. I can see you've had a very long CV on the kind of work you've done. Now, when you became the MCA for Litein ward, what really were the key things that you wanted to do in that ward?
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Priska. You see, while I was working as the chairman CDF, that was another time when I was also exposed now to political life, because working under the area member of parliament at that time, most of the work that I was doing as the chairman CDF was to deal with wananchi, and that's actually one of the reasons why I became a politician. And I didn't become a politician by choice. Most of the things that I was doing prompted the people that I was serving to think that maybe if I was also to be elevated to become member of county assembly, I would serve them in the same capacity that I was serving. That's to say that my work as the chairman CDF was exemplary good.
Okay.
But do I say?
Okay. Yeah. So once you are elected as a member of county assembly, Litein, you also elected by your fellow MCAs as the chairperson of Finance and Economic Planning Committee.
Yes.
So kindly tell us more about this committee.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. As I have said, you see, when we were elected as members of county assembly, most of us were new to each other, so we didn't know each other. So as we were chosen to various committees, one of the things that we were looking at were the profession that each and every one of us had. So when it came to finance committee, the better choice that was there was this person that is seated behind the camera.
Okay.
And so I was unanimously chosen by the rest of the MCS to become chairman Finance and Economic Planning Committee. Part of the mandate of this committee is to look into the budget that's in the that is presented by the executive, to inquire into it, to question it, and also to look at appropriation bill that is usually presented before the assembly every financial year.
Okay. Now we know about finance department. It is the engine of the county. It is the resource center.
Yeah.
So kindly tell us about this department. Does it? We have had so many complaints from other departments that the finance does not provide the needed resources in good time. What is the problem?
Indeed, I know that even for the few years that I have worked as the chairman Finance and Economic Planning, those are some of the sentiments that we hear from the executive and mostly from other departments. But you see, there is always somebody to blame in everything, because I want to believe that before budget is prepared, there is always a cabinet meeting And in this cabinet meeting, every department presents a budget. And there is also a ceiling for every department. So there is that tendency to believe that the finance department is the hindrance to every department's development, which actually, personally, in my experience, that's not the case. I want to believe that every department has the ability to defend its budget, to even fight for the raising of the ceiling of the particular department. Personally, what I think is hindering performance in every department is not the finance committee. It's actually the department itself. There is always that delay in every department, that the procurement process is long. We've not been given sufficient funding. But the question that we usually ask is, did you raise those questions, like we were not given enough budget during the cabinet meeting? The answer usually is, we had raised the same issue, but maybe we were not given that money. But you see, at the end of the day, it's not us, actually the finance or the finance committee or the finance department that hinders development. It is actually every particular department's responsibility to see that they use the limited resources efficiently. Okay. The reason why I say that is that every other financial year we have supplementary budgets, and during supplementary budgets we also review the performance of every department. And to your shock, Madam Priska, is that during this review we find that most of the departments have not absorbed their budget. So where is the blame? It's not actually the finance department. It is how fast they can absorb the budget that is hindering actually performance of every department. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mheshimiwa. Now about local revenue. In our county, it is said that before devolution in 2013, the local authority used to collect a lot of taxes and revenues on which they could use for development. But in our current regime, it is said that the revenues have been drastically low. What is the biggest challenge?
I know that has been also another challenge, especially in our county. But even as we look at the performance before devolution came in and where we are right now, people should also understand that before devolution came in, the boundaries were different. Like the case of Bureti, where it used to be Bureti before devolution is not where it is right now. Part of it, or most of it, has gone to Bomet, and that one is actually hindered even the revenue that we used to get before devolution. Number two is that as devolution came in, of course we have those challenges that came in with devolution. New staff had to come in. There was also readjustment of staff. The staff that used to be in the sub-counties were maybe brought to the main offices that is in Kericho. Another challenge that could be the reason why maybe the revenues are gone down is that in most cases, like if I take the case of my sub-county, there used to be many staff that were being used to collect revenue. But nowadays we have very limited staff who are engaged in revenue collection. So indeed, I know that for sure there has been a decline in revenues that we are seeing in the county, unlike what we used to see before devolution. But I know that the biggest part that has affected us is that most of the parts that we used to count as Kericho were also, when the boundaries were reviewed, went to Bomet. And that's why some of the revenues that we used to collect are no longer being counted as revenues for Kericho County. But I know, even as we stand right now, as finance, we have introduced some of the measures that can also help us in improving our revenues. Number one is that we are now in the process of now automating our revenue collection, so that we remove the idea of dealing with cash. We are now going into digital, where if you have to pay revenue, you pay it maybe through M-Pesa, or you pay it direct to a pay bill. that's the direction that we are going right now.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yes. So, Mheshimiwa, with this automation, has there been some improvement, or we are yet to see improvement in revenue collection?
Okay, change comes gradually. You see, even as we introduced automation, we experienced some resistance where people were used to maybe collecting cash, and also people who used to pay also the same revenue in cash. They are finding it a bit challenging to understand why the same system that they used to use is no longer being used. But for sure, there is an improvement in collection of revenue when we changed from the manual system to digital system.
Okay. We have had complaints from contractors. Sometimes they say that they're not paid in good time, and sometimes they have had to demonstrate in Kericho town, and they mostly blame the finance department that it is taking too long to pay them their dues. Have you looked into that to see what is the root cause of this?
Indeed, even as we came in the second assembly, we inherited huge bills from the previous assembly. That's to say that payments to contractors and people who provide services to the county were being delayed. But since we came in the second assembly, I must say that there has been a lot of improvement in discharging our responsibilities as the county, especially when it comes to dealing with people who provide services like the contractors and other service providers. There's been a lot of improvement in settling their bills. Before we came, we inherited huge pending bills, and there was even, as you've said, demonstration from contractors. But as the chairman finance, we have settled nearly 3/4 of the pending bills that were there. And I want to believe that going forward, we will not have huge pending bills, especially now as we go to that assembly. I can attest that we have very limited people who owes the county monies.
Okay. Mheshimiwa, there's one of the roles of the county assembly is legislation, other than oversight, which your committee does. Tell us more about some of the bills that maybe have been sponsored by the Committee of Finance and Economic Planning.
As you are aware, every year we have a bill, the finance bill, that comes to our committee every year. The mandate of the committee is to look at various taxes that deals mostly with the common wananchi. And I think that's one of the bills that we have done as the committee. We do a finance bill every year. We review even the previous taxes. And in some cases, we have had even to abolish some of the taxes that touches on the common wananchi. So I want to believe that as the finance committee, we have not seen so many complaints, especially of late, from the business community, and especially on the issue of taxes.
Okay. We are nearing the end of the second assembly, and of course we are going to the elections. You have been an MCA for Litein ward. There are some of the challenges that you have faced as an MCA. Could you tell us some of these challenges?
Thank you, Madam Priska. One of the biggest and the greatest challenge is disbursement of funds, and also delays in procurement. Us as a member of county assemblies, we don't have so much control when it comes to now release of funds, or let's say as we legislate, the bigger part of execution of what we do is the executive. So as we pass budgets in the county assembly, the remaining part of execution goes back to the executive. So what we usually face, especially in execution of our programs in the wards, is the delay of funds, and also supervision from the people who are responsible in looking at projects, making sure that projects are executed to that standard that is required. Otherwise, as a member of county assembly Litein, there's not been so much challenge. The only challenge is what is common everywhere.
Okay. As we go to elections, what are some of the achievements that you've you can say as an MCA in Litein, these are the projects that I have done for the people of Litein.
Okay, thank you. As I came in the year 2017, I had my own agenda as the member of County Assembly representing the people of Litein. One of them is to improve the infrastructure, especially the roads. As I go back today to look at the quality of roads that are there today and that were there before I came in, I can proudly say that in every corner of Litein, people can access their homes comfortably. There is not much difficulty in accessing facilities like schools. So as I came in 2017, my focus was to make sure that every public institution like schools, hospitals, and even churches and mosques had good roads. And today I can say that that is what I did. Number two are hospitals. Although Litein, we had good hospitals even as I came in, there are areas that still had no hospitals. And today I can say that I built hospitals in those areas. One of them, I built an hospital in a place called Cheribo. I did one at a place called America. I did one at a place called Kalacha. And we also renovated some of the hospitals that were built earlier. And I can say today that they are in good standard. Another one is, as I came also in 2017, we used to have challenges of breakout of fires in Litein, especially Litein town. So I had promised the people of Litein that if you elected me and they elected me, I was going to advocate for a fire station to be built at Litein. And surely there is a fire station that is coming up at Litein town, and very soon it's going to be completed. And that will go a long way in not only helping the people of Litein town, but the surrounding towns in case of a fire accident. Number three is water. Water is a biggest challenge, not only in Litein, but Bureti sub-county. For a long time, we have gone without water. And the only water project that we have in Bureti sub-county was one that was started in the early 80s by the late Professor Jonathan Ngeno. And that project has become almost obsolete. So most of the times we don't have water. So I had promised that as the member of County Assembly, I will fight for resources so that the people of Litein may have water. And today I can proudly say that I have gone at least to a stage whereby I can say that in a short while people of Litein are going to have water. One, we have the Kipkobob water project coming up, and which is also almost 70%. Though it may not solve water problem in Litein, it's going to eradicate water that was part of the problem that is affecting water by serving people of Chemosot and Gishara. And if it does that, the volumes of water that could have gone to Chemosot and Gishara will now be left with Litein. Number two is that we had a very big challenge of water in Litein town. So I came up with a project at a place called Jemitan. We dumped some water, and we are now pumping the same water using solar power. So at least that one will also sort water problems in Litein. I want also to thank the county government of Kericho. Recently, we were able also to get a donor who are going to finance a water project, a very huge one actually, in this part of Bureti, in a place called Kusumek, Kiptui River. That project is going to sort most of our water problems in not only Litein but in Buret. Lastly and not least is the bursary. Before I came in, there used to be so many complaints, especially on bursary allocation to the needy children. But as I took over, I have sorted that issue, and the needy people are able to get bursaries without much complaints. Thank you.
Okay, Mheshimiwa, on the issue about water, for some years now, Litein have been complaining about, I'm told there's shortage of water because the county government of Bomet cut short the supply of water because there was some standoff. Has that been addressed?
Thank you so much. In fact, I forgot to also inform you that a few days ago there was a meeting that brought in the government of Bomet, the county government of Kericho, Lake Victoria South Water Services Board, and Kewasco, our service providers. During this meeting, there was an agreement between the two counties that going forward, there is going to be no more disconnection of waters, but every county will manage its own water. That's to say that there is going to be separation of meters, one for Kericho and one for Bomet. So I think the problem of water now, the ones that we have seen, people of Litein and Bureti being affected, will no longer be there. We had also a huge bill that was pending with Bomet, and I think that one we had also provided in the budget, and I think it has been paid. So the issue of water in a short while will no longer be there.
Okay. So Mheshimiwa, what are some of the key lessons that you have learned for this short time you have been in politics now?
As a person, I think the key thing that I have learned as a person and as a member of county assembly representing the great people of Litein is that we still need more resources. The national government still needs to devolve more of its funds, because I think this is where those resources are needed more. If we could increase the allocations that the national government gives to the county government, I think the thing of devolution is going to be felt even more in our localities. Number two is that I have learned that leadership is not only to lead people, but it's a calling. There are many challenges that goes with being a leader, but if you didn't have that calling, you may end up giving up. But as a person, I think being prayerful and also depending on God, I think I've been able to overcome most of those challenges.
Okay, Mheshimiwa. At the county assembly, you have endeared yourself as a pastor to your fellow MCAs. And for some time, people have thought that maybe perhaps you are a pastor before, because you have always stepped up to the occasion. So tell us, have you pastored before? Or? Okay,
thank you so much. I think for sure, I think even as I came to the county assembly, I used to pastor my local church. And as I said before, I was working for a church organization. So that's where I came in to be called a pastor. And as I was elected, one of the, or even before election, during my campaigns, people used to wonder, how can a pastor goes into politics? We have always known that politics is a dirty game, and there's a lot of abuse. There's also a lot of lies that goes with it. But I had promised my people that you give me a try. We have always been led by people who are not, who don't know more about God, and these are people who lead also even the churches. So when I was given that opportunity, I didn't hide my candle under the table, but I kept it burning on the tabletop. So my name pastor remained to be a pastor, and that's why I think most of my colleagues have known that I'm a pastor, and I continue being a pastor. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Alex. Maybe you can tell us what are some of your hobbies? What do you like doing when you're not at work?
Okay, while not at work, sometimes I like reading. I like watching documentaries during my free time. And even once in a while watching, when I need to relax, I also enjoy watching cartoons.
Oh, nice. That's interesting. Okay. In the next 10 years, where do we see Honorable Alex Bett?
Of course, now that we are going to electioneering period, I'm also going to defend my seat. That means that for the next 5 years, I want to continue improving the lives of my people in Litein. And then in the coming other 5 years, I want, if God's willing, I want now to even aspire for a better and a bigger seat.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you.
So thank you so much, Mheshimiwa, for your time. We have really enjoyed your interview, and we wish you the best as you go to elections.
Let me also say thank you for giving me an opportunity to highlight more so some of the things that I have done as the chairman, finance and economic planning, and more so to also highlight some of the things that goes on in my ward, Litein ward. Thank you so much, and also may God bless you.
Thank you, and all the best.
Thank you.
Thank you, viewers, for watching today's program. I was with Honorable Alex Bett of Litein ward. Stay tuned, subscribe to our YouTube channel, like our Facebook page, and also follow us on Twitter at Kericho County Assembly. I'm your host, Priska Mosonik. See you next time. Stay tuned.